Urban Landscapes and Bee Restoration by Carlene Keene. This presentation is based on MUGS Conference, April 2019. The beginning of urban development and pollinators. Urbanization is an expansive process and a majority of insects live in human-modified areas. At the same time, a decrease in pollinator species richness and abundance has recently been observed, which in turn may have serious ecological and economic consequences. Bees have been on the decline worldwide due to the pesticides, disease corridors, habitat loss, and environmental change. Large and diversified city parks may be a favorable habitat for a diverse and numerous group of bees, comparable to the fauna and natural habitats both in terms of the number of species and their abundance. Urban techniques have been on the rise to combat the decline of pollinators. Through these efforts, the bee population is slowly bouncing back. Importance of bees as pollinators. Bees are vital to many ecosystems and environments. They provide pollination of flowers and crops, and they give urban environments support from this. Bee diversity and abundance has a direct effect with other species richness as well. There are corridors for disease, which means that where there are fragmented areas of land with no pollinators, these areas are more susceptible to disease. If you add in corridors or pollinator gardens, the risk and prevalence of disease decreases with abundance of bees. Lastly, climate change has had a devastating effect on bees. With increase in temperature and humidity, the bees struggle to fly and migrate to nearby pollination sites. Bees are the backbone for many functioning ecological communities. My research questions are: how do urban heat islands put bee habitats at risk? How can I reclassify distance to bee habitat, standardize land surface temperature, and standardize median household income to create hot and poor and near areas? And given the value of urban habitats, where are optimal sites for bee habitats? Landscapes and bees. Landscapes and bees have come to coexist in their functioning forms. There are common design techniques that help solve restoration problems. These urban developments are used to increase the biodiversity of the pollinators because the more species of bees in one area, the healthier and better off the habitat is. Different bee fauna will increase the biodiversity and abundance of bees as well. There are many different habitats around neighborhoods and cities that need restoration for bees. Urban heat islands contain areas of concrete or asphalt with zero green areas that soak up solar radiation. These concrete jungles and vacant lots contribute a lot of space in downtown or metropolitan areas. Some neighborhood parks or school or prison yards also consist of pure concrete with zero possibilities for bee habitats. This is important because bees cannot thrive in hot conditions, especially not above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The asphalt may add to the temperature of the area, which would make it unsafe for bees to live. This is a GIS map of urban heat islands in the 7-county metropolitan area of the Twin Cities. This impervious land is marked in white to show the high amounts of concrete or asphalt, while the darker areas show more permeable land. Bee habitats in urban heat islands. These 3 GIS maps show first the impervious heat islands of the Twin Cities. Next, the red areas show temperatures from 100 to 125 degrees Fahrenheit, which would be too hot for a bee to live. The last map shows potential bee habitats in pink overlapping with temperature. You can see that the bee habitats avoid or go right around the high temperature areas in red. With all 3 maps, we can conclude that bees will cultivate in areas around impervious hot areas, so they prefer grass and cooler temps from 70 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is easier to accomplish when the grass reflects the sun for a more comfortable atmospheric temperature. This is a GIS model using inputs such as bee habitat, land surface temperature, and tree canopy to then use tools such as reclassify or feature to raster or Euclidean distance to finally raster calculate the 3 outputs: standardized land surface temperature, standardized distance to habitat, and standardized median household income to create hot, poor, and near areas for the Twin Cities. In reality, this map shows that the most hot, poor, and near habitat areas for bees are where they live the most. Red is where the most hot, poor, and near areas are, which is almost the exact same pattern as the potential bee habitats mapped to the right. This means that the bees are living in habitats that are the worst for them. This is why it is necessary to create green spaces where the temperatures can decrease to obtain a better habitat for the bees and to later benefit the entire ecosystem around them. Some neighborhood solutions include building stewardship gardens, green walls, increased agricultural and gardens, and green roofs. Some neighborhoods are creating pollinator pathways to give bees a vital area to live in that makes sense for them. Different bee fauna would also increase the garden areas and habitats. Some other solutions may be to look into urban bee conservation and organizations with that mission, as well as increased cultural diversity with socioeconomic factors to better represent the area. Bee restoration is more than just an organismal project. It is a lifestyle that can be benefited from different people and backgrounds. Restoration solution programs. Pollinators have been on the decline over the years worldwide, but some programs are trying to combat that already. Besides the techniques that I have provided, these organizations are trying to create a restoration solution. Earthworks engages residents of urban neighborhoods in Boston to create local green spaces and raise ecological awareness through education and outreach. They have planted over 230 native trees and shrubs and restoring woodlands, with also the removal of harmful invasive species of bee habitats. City Sprouts provides environmental education in schoolyard gardens to reduce toxins and pest management. Portland Trails has been constructing multi-use trails within Greater Portland to advocate for protecting natural spaces. Exerce is a nonprofit environmental organization that focuses on the conservation of invertebrates that are essential to biological diversity and ecosystem health like bees. With organizations and programs like these, bee restoration with urban landscapes have hopeful solutions. Thank you.